And we are now live. Let me wait till a couple of eyeballs pop up there, which they're about to. Looks like any minute. There we go. And I'll go ahead and start. LA, welcome in, everybody. It's St. Patrick's Day, and it's the PMA session for the big 3/17/21. I hope everybody's having a great day out there, having fun, doing whatever you do on St. Patrick's Day. They say everybody's Irish on this day. It's I just hope it's all been fun for you. You'll have a lot more fun. With me, as usual, over to my, let's go this way. No, I got it wrong again. It's this Dan. Is my buddy Dan, our mental health advocate for Punk Rock Saves Lives. Yep, you can do the up, down, all around. I always get it backwards because we're backwards on here.
Which way's up?
Which way's up? Dan,
that's a good question.
How's everything going out there in Chicagoland area, Dan? What's up?
Everything's going well. It is currently raining, so that is, it is what it is. But overall, it's sunny, and everybody's been doing quite well out here. It seems to be.
That's great.
Did they dye the river?
They did.
I saw it.
Absolutely.
Green as could be. It's pretty much always green, though, isn't it?
It's just adding another layer or two.
Okay. Below me, as usual, is not as usual, but below me is our co-host that's always with us, is Mackenzie. And how you doing how's New Mexico?
I'm doing good. Sorry, my dog's about to start screaming. Things are all right. Weather's been, we're getting windy. We're usually pretty windy in the spring months, so still being at mostly outdoor dining, that's been quite an adventure. But things are good. It's warming up a bit. It snowed yesterday, but it's warming up a bit.
We had a snowmageddon here in Denver over the weekend. It was the biggest snow I've had since I moved here in 2011. So
I did actually see your pictures. That was pretty impressive. Tina
kept taking a picture of Walter in the snow about every hour, and watching the corgi kind of disappear over time lapse was kind of fun. And then he followed me out to the car, and she got a picture of him. If you zoom in, it looks like just a picture of a backyard, but if you zoom in, Walter's in a hole right by the gate looking at me when I'm in the garage.
Next time I'm going to drive up and bring my dogs in and just watch them disappear. It
was fun. How many corgis of snow could you get? That was. And guys, this week our amazing guest, and I'm glad to say this man and I have done a lot of good in the world together and been friends for about 10 years now. Former member of Jack's Mannequin, Something Corporate, now Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. Get that right. And what I just learned, ladies and gentlemen, author. Yes. So how you doing, Andrew? Where are you at for us?
I'm doing great. I'm in a motel in Joshua Tree.
Nice.
Sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. No,
beginning of a lot of things. Actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's for me. It's kind of the end of the road on this writing process that I'm in right now. But yeah, you're in the Joshua Tree Ranch house with me right now, and taking a little break from the keyboard. Well, I guess on the keyboard, but not typing for once.
That's pretty amazing. It's what is it, a fiction, autobiography? What are you doing?
So it's a memoir. I've tried to make it a little bit more have it read a little more like a novel, and try and tell those stories in sort of a linear way. But it kind of tracks my life through the lens of my 3 favorite pianos, if that makes sense, which it probably doesn't. But that's kind of the backdrop, like my life in music and all of that kind of encapsulated by my relationships with my 3 favorite instruments over the years.
That's incredible. Knowing what I know of your life story, I'm looking forward to reading more of it. I do want to point out that I left out this part when I introduced you. Also, the founder of the Dear Jack Foundation, which helps young children and young adults with cancer. And your director, Andrea, just popped up. Look at that.
Ah, there she is.
She's wonderful. There's lots of, if you can't see the comments, there's a lot of people online already, and all of these have been following. I saw someone put up Rock Boat. I saw people tuning in from Vegas. Jeff Jeskoff, who's our
Jess Goff. Yeah. Hey, Jess.
love for leukemia and all of that. So we've got a lot of our dear friends tuning in already. It's pretty amazing.
I love that.
I'll try to pop up some as we're going. But so what's going on in your neck of the woods at home concerning opening up, COVID, all that going on there? And you're in the LA area, correct?
Yeah, so I'm south of LA, about an hour and a half. Well, it's about an hour these days without traffic, but the traffic's starting to stack back up again. You know, I mean, it's been crazy. We're you know, we're in the same boat that obviously the rest of the world is in. You know, the town that I live in, we've been fortunate in the sense that we have like a pretty walkable kind of outdoor area. So, and we live in California. So you know, restaurants have managed to still sort of stay open and mostly stay afloat where I live. But yeah, I mean, it's been the you know, the biggest pause button that I've known since I got sick, honestly, you know, and in that sense, I feel like, oh, did you see that? That's amazing. My donor was swabbed at one of Andrew's concerts. There you have it. Hey, Kevin, that's it. That is wow. That is such a amazing thing. I mean, you know, Rob and I have been doing that work for a long time, and I'm glad to see these stories still coming in. But yeah, you know, we're surviving. I've been very fortunate. You know, it was I'd say really scary at the beginning for us. You know, not knowing, you know, what, you know, where the money, as we all kind of got in that place, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to pay these bills and do this thing? You know, you would think I have a very glamorous life, but it turns out, you know, it requires me working to get to do what I do. So it really forced us to be as sort of nimble as we could be in our house. And, you know, luckily we had the drive-in shows over the summer, which were really helpful. And I started working on this book and you know, and just trying to do my best to focus on the positive, which in my case has been getting to spend a year and nearly every minute of it with my daughter and my wife, which has been really beautiful.
That's beautiful, beautiful thing. Daughter, obviously.
Yeah.
I've got it hanging actually back here behind me, and you know the lyrics to arguably your most famous song so far, and
Cecilia and the Satellite. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and the lyrics are incredible, and especially if you know that he's talking about this daughter, and it's pretty amazing. And I've been lucky enough to see her running around a few concerts, and and awesome stuff. And that it seems like you had the whole family on that Panic at the Disco Weezer thing we did together.
Oh yeah, that was I mean, we had Cecilia on the road pretty much up until right before she started preschool. So her first tour, she was 5 months old, and yeah, I mean, even just kind of revisiting these stories as I'm working on the book, it's kind of remarkable to think of just how much of her early life was spent on the road and in airplanes and everything else, and just kind of how awesome that was to get to you know, kind of just grab the whole family and throw them in the back of the bus and get to sort of be there for all those moments, which, I mean, even, you know, a lot of parents, even when you're working a 9 to 5, you don't get to be with your kids as often as I got to be with Cecilia. And it was just kind of this very weird, you know, rock and roll upbringing that she got, but it was very cool. And yes, they were out for every day of that Panic tour, and I remember it well.
That's awesome.
Were you already thinking about writing a book pre-pandemic, or is that a decision that you made once you had some time and space to contemplate it? So
yes, the answer is yes. I'd actually started in talks with my publisher in the September before the pandemic started, and it started, you know, kind of passing along essays and like sort of, you know, of course these things evolve and it's turned into a completely different project than I thought it was going to be at the time. But the seeds had already been planted, but it was definitely at the moment when it became clear that we were going to be locked down for at least an extended period of time. I don't think any of us were expecting for it to be as long as it was, but but yeah, so I actually was, I looked this up the other day because I was trying to track the trajectory of how this thing came to be. And, but yeah, it was like March 17th was when I kind of circled the wagons and they said, okay, you know, we've had our toe in the water of this thing. Now let's just do it. I'm going to have the time. So let's focus. And I honestly, like, thank God for it, because it gave me the structure and discipline around what would otherwise for me be very unstructured days, which I need a little bit of structure. I'm kind of it can be a mess otherwise. And it gave me something to do and focus on, and just like say, well, you're going to have to sit down at least, you know, 5 or 6 hours a day and write. And that was, it kept me accountable and kept me afloat in a big way throughout the year.
That's amazing. It's kind of amazing how things work out coincidentally in that sort of sense.
Totally.
So I kind of know this, but I kind of want to hear it without giving away the book. How did a young man, piano player from Ohio, end up in all these amazing, and Andrew will tell you this, I've given him grief over the years of, he said, a line in the world, traveled around in the world in a punk rock band, and I've given you a little grief going, what punk rock band? But no, and you always say, come on, something corporate. And I'm like, yeah.
No, but that's wrong. That's not the answer. I've tried to correct so many people on this, and Rob, you must have forgotten my answer here, but the punk rock band I was talking about was Newfound Glory.
Oh, okay.
Been around the world with a punk rock band.
There you go.
Yeah. And it is funny. It's like, yeah, I would say the same thing. It was so funny to be sort of wrapped up in that scene. It was such a blessing to be wrapped up in that sort of early 2000s pop punk thing. But I, like, you know, I never saw that coming. You know, to answer your question, the way it all happened for me was I started a version of something corporate when I was a sophomore in high school, and then yeah, by my junior year, I built that lineup with Josh, my other sort of bandmate and right hand man in that band, and you know, we started playing shows and people started showing up. I mean, it's you know, it was a lot of work, and we worked our asses off, and we did all the crazy pay to play gigs. And, you know, when other local bands were hemming and hawing about trying to get their friends to shows and have to shell out the cash to get them in the door, we were like, let's do it. Let's just make it our mission to get people here. And, you know, and it paid off. We worked super hard, and we were very fortunate along the way, and kind of that combination of hard work and good fortune coincided around us getting signed when I was a year after I graduated high school. Hey, Tina, how you doing?
Apparently she is watching from the bar, so
that's good. It's a good place to watch from.
That's great. That's our co-founder, Tina, and our director. You know, it's really rad that we had this idea as Love, Hope, Strength merged out of doing their outreach program. We didn't want to quit doing good in the world, and Tina and I, with help with Nathan Maxwell from Plug and Molly and a few other people that we got, just decided, hey, let's go forward with this. And now we've kind of, COVID kind of threw a wrench in it, but then
of course
we've thrown a wrench back at it, and we've become really, really strong in the mental health areas. And Dan's been a bunch of, if you notice, Dan, we call Dan our silent Bob. He sits up there during most of these, but if in all the comments, he gives us so many posts. I mean, like, if you say something, it'll end up in the comments because of that guy. So it's really rad that
I'm here more than you think.
Yeah, I like that. It's good.
There's one of our old volunteers, and you might remember from up in the Rochester area. Rocky, how are you? Nurse, awesome.
Hey, Rocky.
So she's great. And then we've got a lot of big comments coming in, talking about how this is so cool. And
love that.
We're just insinuate the positive and move forward and give people a reason to tune in every week. So we've had amazing guests, and this is a big one for me. So I'm really proud that we finally figured out a time you could come in, even if it is bugging you in the middle of your Joshua tree.
It's so funny. It's like, I put these things off, and I put them off, and I put them off. And then, of course, inevitably, I just put them in the middle of me being in the middle of the desert, which luckily this thing is working for us today. So, yeah, I mean, it's so funny. I never expected that of all the things to occupy my time, it would be writing like a long form, memoir. And it's consumed so much of me that there's so many people I've put on ice. I'm just glad that we actually figured it out, Rob, and that you were persistent. When you wrote me this week, I was like, oh, we were doing that this week. Okay. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be a part of what you're doing. And, I'm excited for you guys to break through this COVID nightmare and get back to it.
Well, the cool thing is we are still hand in hand working with DKMS, and
Great.
They do want us to continue swabbing if we decide to do it. That's the great thing is with this new format, we can do a little bit of everything. If we want to do swabbing at Riot Fest, we can do it. If we want to do diabetes awareness at something, we can do that. And it's going to be it's really cool. But DKMS was very upfront when they found out that Tina and I were not going to be at Love Hope Strength anymore. And then Jason, obviously, before us, and wanted us, whatever we did, they wanted us to be part of. And so we will be begging you to swab your cheeks some more coming soon. So, and luckily, I don't know the last count. I know, Andrew, you were the number one match at all the shows we did. Just as an artist, you were number one for matches with Love Hope Strength, and I'm sure that's grown. I haven't gotten the monthly reports like I used to, and it continues to grow. So I know when we stopped, you were in the 140, 150 lives, possible lives saved. And
it's been a while since I've checked, but yeah, it's sort of a crazy thing when you, at least from my perspective, when you do what I've done for as long as I have, and you think, okay, well, this music I'm making is the most important thing I'm doing, or you sort of frame your life in these different ways along the path, and in the most insane way, the greatest impact that I've had has been through the Dear Jack Foundation, and has been through the lives that have been saved through people swabbing at these concerts. I mean, it is remarkable how many people I talked to who got the phone call after signing up at one of our shows and went on to donate marrow. And, you just think about how powerful one action can be, that it can, as I've heard said many times, back when we were, going to Love Hope Strength events, and, you don't just save one life, you save a community, you save all of the lives around that person, their family, their friends, and every other person that they touch. And yeah, I mean, it's work I'm excited to get back to when we can finally be back on the road.
Dan, if you can you put our link up for people?
Thanks, Steve.
Throw the link up for we still have a virtual drive.
Yeah, you can get swabbed,
Absolutely.
and Punk Rock Saves Lives will be a part of that. You can order your kit straight through us, right, Rob?
Yep, the link on our page. I'll link you right to DKMS, and they'll get a kit mailed right to your house. You do your swab and mail it right back in. And it tracks how many we find for them. We're in the infancy, with Love Hope Strength, we had put over 200,000 people in the marrow donor program. Andrew being a huge part of that. So we're in the infancy of it with Punk Rock Saves Lives, but every single one counts, and you don't know who is going to be someone's life-saving match. And I say this, I've said this for 10 plus years, guys, it's not as scary as it once was. Please check it out. At most times now, there's even pictures of me on our Facebook page. I got to give stem cells a couple of months back.
Wow.
It was not I didn't match anyone, but there's the local blood bank was doing a study, and I got picked in that study to donate stem cells, just like donating marrow, except I didn't get the filgrastim shots prior to. It was just
Gotcha.
It was just the regular stem cells in me, but I got to experience what I had been telling people to do for 10 to 15 years.
Was it called like pheresis? Is it where they can pull it out of your one arm and feed it back into your other, right?
Apheresis, I believe.
Yeah.
and incredible. It dog party, male, hey, the corgi party pit. They don't like the mailman, so it's
Who does?
yeah, exactly.
I do.
I'm just kidding. I like my mailman's great. I don't know what I'm saying.
Records and books and all sorts of things.
In the middle of this, mail has been great because you never know what you've been bored and bought from your favorite band. You know?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I really haven't updated because I haven't gotten much updates. But I did get an email on Monday back because I am a match.
Yep.
So I was a match.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was gonna say, for people who, I've never gotten the call, and for how many people we swab and how many people do become matches or whatever, like it's insane to be 1 in 4 of us has been matched to somebody, and that's
wow.
damn, I'm not saying in the world, but right now at your screen, 1 of us has been a match, and that's amazing. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your update, Stan? I didn't.
So I'm still waiting back. They had me re-email them, making sure I'm not getting any of the tattoos I planned and vacations. So they're still waiting back for another month or so. But it seems like everything's in the works. But they're obviously, as you both know, keeping it on the down low. But hopefully to find out within the next month to get an exact to know exactly, because I got the email January 3rd about being a match.
And
what has the process been like since then?
A few emails back and forth with DKMS, going through everything that they need from me, and then updates, because I did the second swabbing, and they're waiting for the process for that.
No blood test yet or anything like that. So
Not yet.
they will get into all that. You will get a nice physical, and they pay for everything and make sure. And I got to bring this up in kind of a weird way. I'm sure a lot of you know. I know, watching with Andrew, know the story, but the reason it's so big is, Andrew, you're alive today because of a marrow transplant, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I was so fortunate that in my first round of chemotherapy, I mean, even at the time that I was sick, which is now I'm 15 years in remission as of this past summer, and at that time it was uncommon that you would even consider a transplant for somebody who was in my position. There was still like a lot of back and forth about protocols for young adults, facing the leukemia that I had. But I had this really amazing doctor who decided, look, we're going to do blood work on your whole family and see if there's, see if it's possible that you have a match. I have 4 older brothers and sisters, but only one, but my 3 oldest are from my mom's first marriage. So the chances really of any of them matching other than my one sister were very slim. And Kate, who ended up being my donor, I think her chances were somewhere in the neighborhood of like 18 to 20% that it would be a match. And miraculously she was, and, sort of flying in the face of, at the time, what was conventional wisdom around my treatment and what the normal protocol would be. My doctor actually felt pretty passionate that this would be my potential cure. And so we took the moonshot, so to speak, and in my second round went back and I was transfused with Kate's cells, and I am here today and healthy and well 15 years later because I was saved by a marrow transplant.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I will tell you this, one of my highlights, and I've had a lot of highlights on touring and doing what we do, was standing on stage at ACL with you playing and hanging out with your sister, waiting for you to give a shout out. So I got to hang out with said sister, and we partied and smiled and laughed together, just knowing you were out there. The joy you give people on stage is just unreal. I mean,
thank you.
I hope people get that. It translates. It's honestly, I bet every one of these people over here commenting like crazy will tell you what joy you bring. I know Stephanie and Stu, you're on, so the Stewarts are on.
What's up?
That's great. And
those guys.
So there's a lot going on, and our the drummer of my hey, look, April Shumpman. Hey, we love April is one of my favorite people in the world, and we just heard another one of our songs get mastered today. So
that's exciting. Good for you, man.
It's pretty cool. We wrote these songs a little over a year ago, had one practice where we all flew in, and then COVID really hit and shut everything down. So we've been trying to get it all done in long distance. So, and look at that, love for the stewards. And I do want to answer this one that was up a second ago. Someone asked, here it is, if they need to be swabbed again. No, only one time in your life. You'll stay until you're 61 years old. The one thing we beg, most of you are young, please log into the DKMS site and update your address and mailing address. And if your email has changed, because if you are that rare match for someone and we can't find you, that's almost as scary as never even getting you in the system. So please update your address once a year. Just make a note somewhere that if you need to go, if you moved or did anything, we all move a lot. So, just update that stuff, because if they need to find you, it's a big deal. Dan just moved, and I bet you got to update when you filled out all your paperwork. So.
Absolutely. Thank you to knowing the people that moved into our old home, or I wouldn't have received. Yeah, and it's only a few towns away, thankfully. But they messaged me on Facebook saying, "We have something for you." I was like, "It's been 2.5 years." Okay.
That's crazy. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I never even thought about that, Rob. Like, just the idea that, I mean, even at these shows of mine, we should probably post something on my site, just because I would never even, it would never even occurred to me to like say, hey, if you signed up for the mailing list, make sure your email and your address are current, because I mean, God, I know if I had signed up a number of years ago, certainly my old AOL email address and everything else wouldn't still be current.
No.
But so that's good to know. I'll make a note for sort of my world as well to send out something about that.
Yeah, and have you update it? Yeah.
If anybody watching hasn't done the swab to get on the registry, honestly, if you've done a mouth swab for a COVID test, it's literally the same thing, if not even a little bit easier.
Yeah, it doesn't have to go in your nose.
Swab for a COVID test, getting swabbed for DKMS will prove that you know what you're doing when you do get into it, and your results probably won't be inconclusive, like I know a lot of people are dealing with.
As you were talking about it, someone said that the cheek swab is so much better than the brain.
Yeah,
Beth. I know you, Beth. I agree. I've had literally probably 16 of those tests since the beginning of COVID, just so I could travel and do these shows, and some are okay. And then every now and again, you get somebody who really wants to punish you for some reason or another, and those are not fun.
Yeah.
And Chantel, I loop back. You can get a hold of us. Like some people said, Tina at punkrocksaveslives.org. We can put you in direct contact with someone at DKMS, or we can set it up for you and have them send you everything. We can you can have a swabbing event on your own. We can help coordinate, or if travel is permitting by then and we can figure out the logistics, we can try to help you out too. So that's all coming. So keep an eye on there. Give us an email. You can email, if you don't want to bug Tina directly, we have an info@punkrocksaveslives.org. You can email any questions there, and we'll go out of our way to answer anytime. That's also, we're working with a lot of artists, and Andrew, I was going to ask you if you might be interested. We're doing for May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to have a lot of our amazing artists do a less than 1 minute video saying, hey, I've had my mental health challenges in life. And if you have any issues, anything, don't be afraid to take the first step to reach out for someone, even if it's just talking to someone. And we could be that. Punk Rock Saves Lives can be that first step where you say, hey, I'm feeling some challenges. What can I do? And if we can't answer you or help you, we can get you to that first step. And that's so I'm going to be hitting up a lot of artists. So if you feel inclined, I don't know if I sent you an email about it, but
I'm happy to. Believe me, I've had my share, and I am definitely a huge advocate of mental health awareness. I mean, for me, I've had my own personal struggles, and I've been fortunate to make it through them. And a lot of people close to me have been in the same boat, and sometimes, frankly, much worse. And so anything I can do to help you guys on that front, I'm always here for you.
Fantastic. Andrew, when we did right at the beginning of Punk Rock Saves Lives, when we had when COVID really hit, I mean, it's good. We founded. I left on our first tour. I had to turn around and drive all the way home because they canceled all shows. But we pivoted, and our first pivot was, let's help, get masks and PPE to the doctors and the nurses and everything, because people started hoarding it. And you were gracious enough to do a video for us as part of that campaign. So
of course, well, yeah. I mean, you've been here for me a lot of years, and I'm just glad to see you graduating into your own space where you're following your passion, and I love it. It's beautiful.
Are there any ways that you've had to sort of pivot with Dear Jack over the last year, since you're not on tour and all that? It's harder to promote that way. Absolutely.
I mean, for us, it's been, we've been very, very fortunate. A lot of nonprofits have struggled through this time, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that are on your chat thread that I can't see right now who are responsible for helping sustain us. I mean, I saw Chantel up there, and I mean, the biggest thing and the hardest thing for me, because it's a program that I'm so passionate about, are Breathe Now retreats, which are sort of a couples-based retreat program that help get couples back on track. Advocates are so overlooked when you're a cancer patient going through a diagnosis. Your partner, your advocate are often overlooked and not taken care of. And so we try and sort of build a healthy model to get both the survivor and their spouse back on track after cancer. Those we had to cancel. The big pivot that came out of that, which I'm really excited about and has been sort of a new thing and a new community that we've been building, is we've shifted a lot of that online. So a lot of the yoga and meditation and breath work and the things that we've done on the health side to serve that community, we're moving online. So I think that will live as we move forward. We'll continue to do the retreats once we're able to get back to it, but we're also building out a space for young adults to start engaging with sort of wellness and breath work and meditation and those sorts of things to help them cope with their cancer and their recovery. We were able to continue to work the Breathe series. There it is, Andrea Schwartz. She's got it. So yeah, you can find that all at dearjackfoundation.org and learn more about how we're doing that online now. But yeah, we've been able to continue to work with our patients and our survivors. Luckily, the Life List, which we've been doing for years now, and has been sort of a staple of the work that we've done. Rob, you're familiar. Any info on this year's challenge? I like this. The questions are coming in. This is good. But that program has been able to keep going. But a lot of our wishes are often travel wishes, which of course this year we've not been able to do. So we are very eager to get 100% back online. But thanks to Andrea and our amazing staff, they have continued to work diligently to serve the community. One of the big programs, Letters of Love, where we groups get together and send out these awesome care packages and letters to different patients that we're engaging with, has actually amped up over this year and has been a really effective source of outreach for our community. So we're hanging in there, but we're looking forward to getting back.
Right on.
Yeah, we've luckily stayed in touch with a lot of our what we consider partner organizations, and watching everybody figure ways through this has been inspirational. And I know we lost Mackenzie. Uh-oh. She'll be right back. That does it sometimes.
She's tending to the dachshund.
Yeah, well, and her baby corgi, which is awesome. So it's I'm not biased to corgis at all. Not at all. There's one, Andrew, friend was part of the Life First program, and her cancer persists still. I know. She's I'm sure you're reading it too. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm that's awesome, Laura. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think the thing that in my mind really distinguishes Dear Jack from other organizations, and something that's been my passion, because frankly, my recovery, I liken to a sickness in itself. I didn't, because I was young when it happened, and I was surrounded by people who were in really a very vital place and kind of that fearless moment in their lives. I went through a lot of, mental and emotional struggles in the aftermath of my cancer. And I think the beauty of what Dear Jack does is sort of embraces the survivor community as well as the patient community and says, look, this is a long road to get back to feeling good again. And I think it's true of all diseases, and I think it's true of a lot of conditions, is when you're in the hospital and when you have that focus, they're ready to get you well, but the aftermath can often be a very tricky thing to navigate. And Laura, hopefully at some point down the road, your friend will be able to engage with Breathe Now and can be a part of those programs as well.
Our Kevin, who buzzed in a minute ago saying that his match was found, just said, I guess stem cell transplant is not a cure, it's an adventure. So
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
And we had to tell people a lot of times that, patients tend to get what's called graft versus host disease.
That's right.
And that's their body deciding to take the cells, but then maybe thinking something's just a little different. And so they sometimes end up fighting a little bit something else. I know if you've ever heard me tell the story of Hayden, who was one of my interns at Love, Hope, Strength, that Hayden's stem cell transplant worked perfectly. Gave him 5 to 7 years. He was going strong, but his graft versus host somehow attacked his lungs. And
wow.
He fought that for a number of years, and finally that is why he left us. Not 6 months before he passed, and I'm going to try not to tear up through this, we were at the Nelsonville Music Festival, which he actually was an intern there as well, helped them through that for a number of years.
Yeah.
He was there, he was on full oxygen, but he wasn't missing his music festival, which describes so many of our people, and that's amazing. And somebody brought him over to the Love, Hope, Strength tent in a golf cart, and I was like, man, I'm so sorry you're going through this, because he was really sick. And he was like, hey, Rob, I beat the cancer. I can beat this. And it just threw me. And, unfortunately he couldn't, but he gave it everything. And that's the thing is we used to say a lot, and I'm sure you agree with this. What if it, people go, well, what percentage survive? And I'm like, well, what if, the percentages to really now is about 80 to 90% of people that get a stem cell transplant or a marrow transplant get extended life, whether
right.
that's 6 months or 20 years. It's more time with their loved ones, and that's what we got to try for. The science is amazing, so that's what we push so hard. We still do. It's Love, Hope, Strength just decided to go a new direction, and that's great. But we'll keep that flag flying. They're still helping cancer hospitals all over the world. So more power to them. And we'll go out there and do the work in the punk rock and rock and roll and country, whatever. We'll go work the people, and we'll save some more lives. And that's what it's all about.
I love seeing all these comments about people talking about now, oh, I want to do a swab day in my school and all that. It's such a great idea. Talk to your bosses about whether or not you can do it in your workplace. Not only is it something that, you could possibly get a match from, get a lot more names on the list. It's also, there's not a lot of sort of like fun, wholesome things to do with people right now. So you might as well say, hey, let's have a day where we try to help people.
Yep. And even if it's with today with COVID, you might have to get do a pre-approval thing with your office and have everybody that is reads the approvals and all of that, make sure they're good, and then have a number of kits delivered, and you could even put them in their offices where you're not face to face, have them swab, close the envelope, do all that. COVID's caused us all to make different ways of doing stuff to be successful, but we still need it all. So we can figure ways around this, and
someday we'll go back to shoving our hands in your mouths.
Yeah, you didn't. I always handed them to the people. I probably, honestly,
not Mackenzie. She's like, no. Yeah, I'm. Sometimes come on now.
If you appeared sober, I'd hand it to you. But I feel like at music festivals, we had a lot of people who were just like, end of the night, view to the
Well,
winds.
we
So
had
I'd rather
come
guarantee
here, I got
that
you.
it's done correctly. I'm just gonna.
well, we always wanted them to know
Together.
what they were doing, and it's still true, but it's really cool. And we had so many artists through all of that helped us. The Flug and Molly people have tons of matches. Dropkick Murphys took us on tour a lot, talking St. Patrick's Day. They're your big two in America. We were lucky enough to tour with Ozzy Osbourne, to tour with everything.
Wow.
But there is nobody that the story or the testimonial from stage stands up as much as Andrew's. So it's unreal to watch. I don't know if you remember you payed Riot Fest, and we had a booth way away from.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Dan, were you with me?
What year was that?
Oh gosh.
I was with you that year.
Were you? We
Yeah.
drug a table. We somehow grabbed a table from another booth, and we grabbed a table, a big bunch of swabs, some of the educational placards, and we drug it over to he was playing one of the two main stages, and we drug this all over there in the middle of the festival and set up a table by a lighting pole.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew saw us from stage and pointed it out, and we thought we'd just get a few over there after the set. We'd get about 10 or 20 extra people to swab. In about a 15-minute period after you told people to come to the table when you finished playing, we signed up like 85 people in like a 10-minute period.
Wow.
It was incredible. And Kevin did come and help me swab. He was my one volunteer at Ozzy in Dallas, so that was really rad.
That's awesome.
I think it was Dallas, right, Kevin? He'll correct me in a second. My brain, all the shows over the years, I'm sure Andrew can testify.
Oh yeah, I don't remember any of them.
You start to go. You remember little stories here and there, but was that Dallas or was that for? You have to think about it sometimes, but it's pretty amazing.
I met you in passing because of Rob at House of Blues in Chicago 2018.
Okay.
With Alan Stone and Zach Clark.
Oh, you were on Pen and Piano. Yeah, of course. That was a good night, actually. I remember, I was about to say I don't remember any shows, but I actually remember that show very well. My brother-in-law was in town and he showed up and we had that like great night afterwards. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was such a fun tour. Yeah, Rob, speaking to sort of the advocacy from stage, in a weird way, working with Love, Hope, Strength early on was like it was one of these ways. It was like, wow, there's a really immediate thing that we can do quickly for good, and in a way it really galvanized my work with Dear Jack too, because it was like, okay, there's a way I can tell this story and move the needle on making change, I think it was sort of the perfect storm, the Bone Marrow Registry and me on tour, because it was something that I could really say authentically. I know historically it's not always been easy at the shows. You can set up the booth and you can do the thing, but it's like anything. People are going to pass. It's like selling Girl Scouts cookies. If you don't want to eat Girl Scout cookies, you're not going to go to the booth, And for me, it was so easy to say, like, this show is happening because my life was saved by a transplant. We're here now in this room because I didn't die, and that's a very concrete thing to be able to say from a stage. And it's a very easy way to illustrate the power of a simple decision to sign up, and I certainly urge anybody who hasn't at this point, one, to not be afraid, because the difficulties relative to the donor process, it's not to say that I don't have empathy for the donorship process. It is still, Dan, you're going to probably go through this, and if you're doing the shots, and I mean, it's not comfortable. It's a tax, and it is a moment out of your life. But relative to the power of that action, is such a drop in the bucket. And if you can save that life, I mean, gosh, what a bond, what a powerful thing to do for another human. How many of us get to say, I saved someone's life, like it is a rare thing. There are people, there are a lot of, we have nurses and we have doctors and we have EMTs and we have these frontline workers who we're even more thankful for this year than I think we ever have been before. But for a common person living a day-to-day life, to be able to save a human being is powerful, and reminds us that we are powerful people with a lot of potential.
The science side of it's moved so much just in that 10 to 12 years we've been swabbing, and 80 to 90% now are the stem cell transplants and not direct marrow.
Right.
If they ask you to do a direct marrow transplant these days, yes, you're going to wake up. You are asleep. You're going to wake up with a really sore hip. But would you? I kind of describe it, and I've had people that have done it describe it as different ways, like you fell on the ice really bad, or one woman put it in perspective for me: if you've walked through your kitchen and hit your hip on the corner of the kitchen counter really bad, that's what it felt like to her. And that obviously you live that down for 4 to 6 days, depending on how you heal, but giving up that little bit of time or that amount of pain to save someone is just unbelievable. So don't let fear block you from getting involved with this if you can. The chances of you matching, we've said, unfortunately, are slim. It's about 1 in 1,000 people that we sign up that will not only match but get to the donation process. So it's you might match and never get to donate. Dan's been waiting 3 or 4 months now. Hopefully it will continue to go forward, and being that they're staying in contact with them, they're most likely waiting for the patient to be ready. And that's, they can't tell you a whole lot because of the Privacy Acts and everything like that. But they do keep you as informed as you can. And they told us even less. We were allowed to know that we found a match at Andrew's show in Des Moines, Iowa. That was about all we were ever allowed to know. And we would get a report once a month, and I would have to disseminate where those were based on just a 6-digit code. And I'd have to go find in a spreadsheet what that code equaled to with what artist and what city and all of that. So, because we really love to keep our artists, and when we get rolling with this, we'll do this still, but we wanted our artists to know, hey, you found a match. We wanted the venue to know that, hey, you found a match. It was always cool that was my favorite part of the month. And I used to tell people, no matter how tired or aggravated or anything like that I was, at the end of a month, we'd get that report, and I'd go through that report and get it ready to tell everybody, and faith renewed. It was always insane, and I knew I needed to get out there and do more. And I still miss it. This year has made me realize how much I missed asking you to get a cheek swab at a concert. So believe us, we'll be back doing it. That's pretty cool. Kevin says that he was lucky enough that multiple people matched him, but
wow.
that is really, really cool. So,
Dan, I just hope whoever is your match, that you go through with it and they inherit your wicked,
that's amazing,
facial hair. That's me. Because it's good. I'm jealous. I got there for a little bit over this year, then I got into like a place. Do you ever get to that moment where you look in the mirror and you're like, today's the day? Because I hate myself. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean, because I used to have a shaved head before quarantine, and I just said, whatever.
I shaved my head during quarantine.
I saw the Instagram
I
photo.
almost shaved my head.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Screw this. And then I got out the clippers, and I told my wife, because I hadn't shaved my head since I'd been sick, I think, or maybe once since. And I was like, well, we'll use a 4. That's a lot more than a 1, Turns out a 7 is probably a much better choice. And she finished, and I looked in the mirror, and I was immediately like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
So yeah, never shave a beard. Stewie, I'm with you. And and I see you hiding behind your child, but I see a beard there, and I miss you, and I can't wait till we can see each other again there, Stewie.
I think
as always.
if I remember correctly,
Yes.
they came to the drive-in shows with the baby.
That's right. Yes, I'm
Is
almost 100% on that.
Am I correct there, Stewie? Sean?
I'm pretty certain.
And that was one of the cool things. Andrew was on the forefront of what a lot of artists have been trying to figure out, and that's how to do shows during all of this. And you did the drive-in. How many shows did y'all do at drive-in?
Well, we did. I want to say we did 4 cities, and we did at least 2 in all of them. So I think we did between 10 and 12 total. And yeah, I mean, it was a Herculean effort, and honestly, not to be a downer, I lost my agent of 20 years in the last 2 weeks, and he was behind that whole thing. I called him at the beginning of COVID, and I said, we have to find a way to play, and we just traded articles back and forth until we saw one from Denmark where they were doing a drive-in show, and he put it all together, and he made it possible for me to get out and do what I loved in the middle of a year when a lot of my friends weren't able to. And it was really powerful. I mean, it was weird and such a strange thing to get to sort of play to a crowd of cars with people sitting on the roofs and whatever. But it will forever be one of those memories of this year where it's like, wow, we all figured out a way to do something. And oh yeah, so Kat was at the Homedale show in New Jersey. So we had this incredible, one of the most amazing shows I ever played, almost strictly because of this moment. We played the Jack's Mannequin record, and there's a lot of references to rain in that record. And there's one particular song where there's almost like this rain call in the middle of it. So I'm going to send a little rain your way. And I swear to God, I say the words and the sky just explodes. And we're all on the stage and it's just pouring. I mean, literally a total downpour. And my techs are trying to get us all off the stage. And I was like, you guys, we can't do that. Like, this is just, there's no way that we can abandon this moment. Like, if somebody gets electrocuted, that's going to be on me apparently, but we hung and we played up until the point when lightning struck, and then it was like, okay, they got us off the stage. But it was one of those magical moments that COVID be damned, but it was a miraculous, beautiful thing that I got to do this year. I had to hide in my hotel bathroom and squeeze the water out of my clothes before driving home after that. Well, there you go, Chantel. Why did you have to hide to do that? What was that about? Well, I won't.
I feel like there's some more to the story here.
Yeah, there seems like there's something else going on there. But Chantel won the Dear Jack challenge the year before last. She raised, I think, the most money, or in the top group of people who raised money for Dear Jack in the last couple of years. And when this is all over, I get to go play a private concert in her living room for her and her friends, which has been postponed for 2 years because of this madness.
Oh no, it'll happen.
Living room show.
It will.
I love
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. We've you remember 10-Foot Pole, the punk rock band?
I can't. It doesn't. I'm sorry.
Well, Dennis, the lead singer, was a guest a month ago or so. He is actually trying to set up living room shows around America to get back out there and do something. So I love the idea. It would be a lot of fun. Just keep getting tested and get your shots if you can. We encourage people to get their shots so we can get back to touring. Obviously, that's a personal decision to everybody out there.
No, get them. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I know. That's what we say too. I mean,
I'm controversial. I don't care.
Leah, we did one of the Sofar. She just brought up Sofar sounds. We did one we gave them the Love, Hope, Strength office when we still had it. Andrew played a show there.
Oh yeah, of course.
And it gave so far reached out to us, and Jason set it all up, and we gave them they came and did a show in our. So it's a pretty neat thing. So I'm hoping that keeps going after all of this and everything, and that's doing these weird shows in really small places and really cool.
Sometimes the best things happen there.
Yeah, that's well, we're at about 55 minutes, and I know Andrew's got a lot to do, and he's out there ready to work on that book some more. So we'll get into what we normally close out with.
Sure.
There's two things I hit people with every week, and this, depending on how crazy everybody's been, it sometimes takes 10 to 15 minutes because we get into talking about it and we all fall in love with the same stuff. The first thing I do is I try to, and I'll hit Dan first since we're hitting Andrew. He didn't even know about this. What have you been listening to, reading, podcast, any of that the last few weeks that's helped you get through the last couple of weeks that would help people out there to check out to get through the next few weeks? Dan, what's been blowing your mind up the last week?
So I've been really paying attention to releases lately, which I usually do, but it all varies. But Justin Courtney Pierre of Motion City Soundtrack released he released a 5-song EP. An Anthropologist on Mars is the title, and
Nice.
It's very deep. I know if anybody listens to his work, it's very mental health driven, very anything he suffers, and a lot of it's about his wife, and it's just some great stuff. And he definitely went and dove deep with this EP, taking the time away from Motion City, obviously. And
Thank you, Rocky.
definitely would recommend such a great work, because he definitely has a way with words and how he writes.
All comes back around. Motion City were amazing to Love Hope Strength. They had a swab at a lot of their farewell tour.
Yeah.
And so they were amazing folks.
They're great guys. I've gotten to tour with them a bunch and have a lot of affection for all of those dudes.
I've cried at a lot of their shows.
I tried to
I'm
get
sure
tickets
many
to
of
their
us
last
have.
show. Their last show was Chicago, and
Yeah.
I think Roswell
I cried
Kid,
so
and I
hard.
couldn't
I think
even
I cried
get
the
it.
first time I saw them, and that show, which is the last time I saw them, obviously. But yeah.
All right, Mackenzie, what's been blowing up in your brain? I love it.
Oh man! So yesterday,
these are great, Andrew. Always. She's
official 1 year anniversary of me losing my job to COVID the first time.
Hmm.
So,
wow.
Yay! And I remember specifically that was kind of soon after like Punk Rock Bowling Club shows had gone on sale. So I've been revisiting the original Punk Rock Bowling 2020 playlist, just because that's kind of what I was listening to then, and getting back into a lot of Bronx and Alice Bag and all the fun stuff. Just trying to feel, because it always brings me into spring, like those kinds of playlists. So that's sort of where I've been at with that. What I really want to talk about is I found this really awesome nonprofit on Instagram. Actually, it was an ad, and then I kind of dug in. They're called Find Your Anchor Box.
Oh, I know those guys.
Yeah, super, super fun. And so I went ahead and ordered one.
It's so cool.
What you can do, super awesome. So what you can do is you can go online, you can order what they call an anchor box. If you're struggling with suicidal ideation or anything like that, or know somebody who is, you can order one. They're relatively cheap, but they'll send them to you for free if you can't afford it. You can also order a bunch of them wholesale if you want, and you can either keep it to help yourself, and I'll kind of do this little unboxing. There's a really cute little handwritten note in here and lots of different resources and like pins and stickers, and you can keep it for yourself, or you can take something or leave it all, or put something else in there that you think might help somebody, and you can actually put it somewhere where somebody might stumble upon it and really need it that day. I think it's just a super, super awesome creative idea. Go find them on Instagram at Find Your Anchor Box, all one word like that. That'll get you all the links. They've got a ton of resources Dan's putting up for you right now. And yeah, so I just recently received mine, and I'm just so, so excited about it. I'm personally not struggling right now. A lot of you know I have in the past, and I'm really excited to kind of put a personal touch in this and find it and put it somewhere where I think somebody will probably find it.
That's beautiful.
So Mackenzie, not to draft on that, but I met the woman who started Find Your Anchor Box.
No way.
Yeah, so she lives in my town where I live, and it was around. I did like an event over the summer, like an outdoor thing to support the Marine Institute where we live, and got the experience. We actually went out and stand-up paddled together in the harbor where I live, and she told me all about what she does and gave me a box, which I immediately gave to a friend who needed it. I think that she's so talented, and what that organization is doing, I think, is really beautiful. And I'm so what a cool little fated thing to hear about it in this circuitous way. Yeah, I love what they're doing.
And that's the whole thing of it, is just like, imagine like the coincidence of me receiving this right in time for you to be here and you having a story about it and all of that. And it's just like, that's what this kind of thing relies on, is that things find us when we need them to. And
so true. And
I think it's really rad.
Yeah.
I love it. That's well, Andrew, has there been any music or books or anything that's been, I know you're deep diving into your own books. So
reading has been a little bit of a struggle for me. Truthfully, my go-to reading at the moment has been the Surfer's Journal, which I know which is like this very beautiful, if you surf, and even if you don't, honestly, is one of the most beautiful magazines out there, and really personalizes surf stories with just being a human in the world. So that's honestly been my reading mostly. But as far as music goes, so because I've been in the desert, and podcasts and things, like Mark Maron's podcast has like been my obsession, and it has been for years and years. And I recently he did a interview with Daniel Lanois, which if you don't know who Daniel Lanois is, he's one of the most amazing music producers of all time. He, everything from U2 to Peter Gabriel to Bob Dylan and Neil Young, and just, some of my favorites. And so I went on this amazing journey where I listened to that podcast, and then I just did this deep dive into like Daniel Lanois land, and went and just revisited a lot of the catalog stuff I knew of his and the artists he had produced. And stumbled into two Bob Dylan records. I stumbled into two Bob Dylan records that I hadn't spent much time with, Oh Mercy and Time Out of Mind. And specifically, I fell in love with this song called It's Not Dark Yet. And it has been just my absolute jam. It's so sad, but you just feel, and there's just something beautiful about driving through the desert and being on the verge of tears because somebody's just saying all of the right things to you. And yeah, it just reignited my love for Dylan. And yeah, so I built out this little playlist, which is like, a lot of the Lanois tracks, but then also like the Flying Burrito Brothers and like a bunch of the Stones, and kind of digging back a little bit into some of the classic rock that I grew up listening to as a kid, being surrounded by four older brothers and sisters and parents who grew up in the 60s, and that's where I've kind of put a lot of my energy lately when I'm not sort of pouring it out the other direction with my writing.
It makes me feel like Joshua Tree's rubbing off on you there a little.
Oh, this place has just had a piece of my soul for ages. I came out here, and this is where we did a lot of the work for the last Jack's Mannequin record, People and Things. We rented a house out here, and that was kind of the beginning of my journey with Joshua Tree. And ever since, anytime I need a reboot that the ocean isn't the catalyst for it, it tends to be this particular desert for me.
It's to me, Joshua Tree will always be inevitably tied to Graham Parsons. So
Flying Burrito Brothers, there you go.
Yeah, and you said that, and I went, and if you don't know the story, and it is real, and this is so cool, Graham Parsons and one of his roadies, his tour manager, made a pact that if anything ever happened to one of them, that they would take the other one's body and burn that in Joshua Tree. And his roadie really did it, guys.
Oh yes.
They
robbed the crypt keeper, didn't they?
Yep. And that is not rock and roll folklore. That really happened, and he followed through with Graham's wish. And there's a movie about it. I think Johnny Knoxville plays the tour.
Surprise.
But it really happened, and it's inevitably tied to rock and roll history. And it's just like I was telling Andrew before we came online, I did an event out there with Love, Hope, Strength where I swabbed at a yoga convention out there and a yoga retreat. And it was really strange for me as this punk rock guy, you know, with a little mohawk and walking around all these people that were, but that at night, it's just a magical place. So
my yoga mat.
there it is. And like you said with Dear Jack, we've been doing Michelle Swain, the wife of Flogging Molly's banjo player, Spencer Swain, does live sessions for us on Punk Rock Saves Lives once a month. Dan, is that right? Yep. She does one once a month. Tina has been working with a online trainer, and he is going to be putting a session up where you can come on and do some light strength training with a coach online coming
Nice.
up there. All sorts of stuff to help mental health and physical health. You know, our tenets are health and equality. That's what we really want to push with Punk Rock Saves Lives, and that's, you know, there's so much within both of those. We should never ever stop having work. So as I get older, one of y'all are going to have to take over, but that's it. But and especially our mental
Way
health
ahead
group.
of you, man. Way ahead of you.
Dan just put the link up. Our mental health group has been such a success. It gives you an open, safe space to open up, and you know, people can chime in with ideas for you, or with, you know, giving you their version of what they went through, and anything to help you. It's pretty rad. So please check into that. My things to check out this week. There's so much actually. But with St. Patrick's Day, I had so many things swirling and going and all of that. I didn't get to listen to a lot of music or anything this week, but please check out, go back, dig deep into Andrew's catalog. And I didn't know a lot of your music before we started doing the tours together. I was in that age group where, like, I don't know if you know this story. A lot of people do. I was in music, and then I took this weird detour, and I was a golf pro for 12 years. So,
wow.
In that time period, I still did a lot of music, but I missed a lot. Obviously, I wasn't on the pulse every day, and that was your heyday. It's really weird. I was, but when I got to tour with Andrew, I will tell you this: the songs are some of the best written songs that will stick in your head and get people. And I watch your fans and the people that come to the shows leave every night just completely rejuvenated. And that's what I think the definition of punk is. You go and your fans give it all. You give it back to your fans every ounce, and then they're left, for lack of better terms, and you know, we do with addiction, but they're jonesing for your next show, and that's beautiful. That's what we all want in this world, is to, you know, something to touch someone. You know, music, movies, a book, something that crosses. You're lucky enough to be part of that. And Andrew, you've written, I can't tell you how many people I've heard talk about Swim or Dark Blue or Cecilia being what made them get through something. And that's thank you. That's all I can say there.
Thank you.
Dive into that. Everybody, please go over and like the Dear Jack Foundation. It doesn't matter if you're a cancer patient. You can figure out a way to help cancer patients or help them help cancer patients. Then they do their amazing challenges every year, like he was talking about, where he gets to play in someone's thing. And it spawned all sorts of groups. Like while we were going here, the AM Chalk group reposted. They meet outside of every one of his shows and draw chalk paintings out on the sidewalk out before the shows, and it's pretty amazing. They reposted on Instagram a picture of us while we were doing this.
Hey guys.
So do that. Like their group, follow their group, Dear Jack Foundation. I know it's up here there it is. I told you Dan's on it. That's what he does.
Way to go, Dan.
So I didn't clarify this earlier. I'll clarify this before I do the last closing thing. Stephanie and Stewie's kid was born on your birthday. Their first concert was you on his 1 month birthday. There you go. And it was the drive-in in Chicago.
It's rock and roll child right there.
And his name is Jackson. And I have a feeling that might have something to do with you. Maybe somewhere with the Dear Jack or something. I don't know.
I was like, wait, what? Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I'm a little slow on the uptake over here. I apologize.
I just made that up, so I don't know if it's true.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
But
knowing that.
Well, I guess it is now. If it
Yeah.
wasn't before.
Well, I'm gonna assume it is now. It's all about me, Rob. I mean, got through all these years to realize that.
No, yeah, that's it. All right, the last thing I do every week, and I started that earlier with these this year. Andrew, where would your life be today if you had not found punk rock? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to circle that around because my punk rock sort of found me, I guess I would say, and in the strangest way, I wasn't really into punk music, and then I got sort of like drafted into the scene, so to speak, and it taught me everything about being on tour and working my ass off and learning, what it means to do the work of being in music versus the perception, I think, of what you grow up initially thinking like, oh, I'm going to make these songs and start a band and become famous or something. And I think the beautiful thing about kind of coming up in that scene was everyone was equal and nobody, and you had to fight for your place and earn your keep. And it was a really beautiful way to learn how to do this thing, because I think I've been able to do it as long as I have because I love the work and I learned the work touring with punk bands. So I don't know where I would be, but I know I'm glad to be here.
That's beautiful.
We're glad to have you, man.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mackenzie. Appreciate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here for tonight, but give a virtual wave, hug, clap for one of the most inspirational people I know, Mr. Andrew McMahon. And we love you. Thanks for being part of our lives. Yeah, that's really cool. So,
thanks for having me tonight. Thanks for what you guys are doing.
like I say every week, guys, if you're struggling in any way, mentally, physically, anything that we can maybe be the first step to helping you out, my phone number is readily available on the website and on our Facebook page, or mine. You call me. If you're struggling, call me. I can't guarantee. I go to work at 4:30 in the morning. I can't guarantee I'll answer every call, but I promise you I will call you back. Leave a message, leave a text, whatever you need to do. I will get you. And we at info@punkrocksavesliveslives, if you're suffering through anything we can help with to be the first step to get you to a professional, get you to someone, we will do everything we can for you. So please don't be afraid to reach out. Use us as your first step. Use us as your pal. And that's like, I want everybody to think of us as their big pal. And that's a beautiful thing. So I close it every week. Thanks to everybody. Mackenzie, Dan, I can never express how much I love you guys. And one love, up the punks. Good night, everybody.
Take care. Thank you again, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
I'm on and